Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands. Today is a WNR468. It's NXT Update Roadblock. I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by our resident NXT expert and New Japan deity. It is, of course, Monty. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to talk about these not only this batch of shows, but man, it's getting it's that time of year. We're on the road to WrestleMania, and if we all know if we're going to WrestleMania, Stand and Deliver is also a destination towards the end of that road. So I'm excited, man. It's that time of year. So I'm expecting NXT to put on some of their best shows leading up to this point.
Well, we got 5 episodes of NXT, including Roadblock, but we're going to start with a little bit of news and
Hmm.
departures to start us off, because Sarai is
Hmm.
leaving WWE and returning to Japan. She will be leaving WWE after her contract expires, and she will hold a press conference on March 13th to announce her resumption of wrestling career in Japan. She signed with
All
WWE
right.
back in 2020, and of course, was delayed due to COVID. Made her debut on March 17th, 2021, defeating Zoe Stark. The following year, when it became 2.0, she was given the gimmick, which we transferred from the schoolgirl to a more glamorous appearance. And after making a couple of appearances in the UK last summer, her final match was losing against Mandy Rose on the August 2nd episode
All
of
right.
NXT. She hasn't appeared on TV since. And it's another problem because there's so many wrestlers, you kind of forget and you go, yeah, we haven't seen her in a while. And it is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, it's so many. That's the thing. So many different talents that I can just think of, not only in the women's division, but the men's division too in NXT, to where you saw them prominently for a while there, and then they disappear for weeks at a time. You never know when someone is gonna pop back up. Maybe it's an injury or something like that. So it was kind of shocking to see this because again, I thought WWE so far hadn't really gave her much to work with. Even though I know she still had some, to get some seasoning, as I like to put it, into the WWE system. I understand everyone goes through that process, but it's crazy to me how time flies that contract is already up now, or it's about to be up, and it just shows you how much of a big deal, by the way, for her to be back in Japan. Not only with the press conference, they do that a lot of times. Like just like when younger Stardom wrestler who just 25 did a big press tour run that she's retiring. So it's just kind of funny when you think about that, how they do it, especially if you think about how we probably view Ray after her time in NXT, but yeah, I just think it was kind of a missed opportunity. It's kind of one of those situations where I guess you would assume, since WWE has had success with the Oscars and the EOs, in these spots, and of course the Kyrie Sanes, that you just assume that when they sign another person that they thought highly of from Japan in the women's division, that you could see big things. And I definitely saw the potential in ring, but they obviously did not know how to package uh, Saray at all, and who knows what other type of barriers there was. Uh, think like you said, the pandemic, like it's just a lot of things that was going on. A lot of they didn't even know NXT's direction. Like honestly, it's crazy. Like that character they developed was during that 2.0 period. Who knows what she would have became, if she, could have got a longer leash in this NXT period, or even in the black and gold period before, the pandemic and all of that stuff. So again, it's just kind of a shame when you think about it, because I did see potential there, but at the same time, I wish her the best. I think obviously we know, like, not only just like with Mercedes Monet situation, but just in general, Stardom and wrestling, Joshi wrestling in Japan, TJPW. I can go down the list. Joshi wrestling in Japan is some of the best wrestling in the world, so I know she'll still be doing her thing and probably will be happier in her home country. But again, it is a shame in my opinion, because sometimes it don't work out the way you think it will when you see a signee or you see someone debut in NXT.
Yeah, you're right about that, like you said. But let's hope it's not the end, obviously. Like I said, I've heard. Hopefully, we
Right,
will see
right.
more of her as well. Then another thing as well, talk about crazy but true. Roderick Strong. We talk about contracts at NXT and everything. Roderick Strong has been in NXT longer than WWE Nitro's entire existence. I saw this the other day. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
WWE Nitro, 1995, 2001. Strong has been in NXT 2016 to 2023. It's still going. It shows you as time goes on, it's crazy to look back and think that is the same time. How is that even possible?
Yeah, it makes you. It just also makes you feel aged, I think, too, because like you said, it's just amazing how time flies. Like I still remember fresh when Roderick Strong was still in at the beginning of his run in NXT, was still kind of neglecting the obvious that he would probably end up joining the Undisputed Era before he even got in there. So I still remember that run of Roddy at the beginning of his NXT run, and don't get me started on his time before WWE. So to think about how long it's actually been, and the fact, like you mentioned, the fact that he's still listed on the active NXT roster after all this time, it's just crazy, man. It's a crazy stat, but like you said, crazy but true. And I don't know, man. It's just one of those things. It does make me wonder, will he ever get a shot, like on the main roster? Like, would they even consider it? Now, he's been in NXT for so long. Will his run likely end up to where he just kind of gets cut or whatever happens before he ever gets that opportunity, or will he, get a match here or there? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? It's like so up in the air when it comes to his future. But man, what a stat that is.
Yeah, it's incredible. Another thing I've been really impressed with this year, and the news coming out of it, is WWE's pay-per-view schedule. Now, we've been talking about it since Triple H kind of took over from SummerSlam, and now we kind of know what's going to happen post WrestleMania as well, because the King of the Ring is back as a standalone premium live event for the first time in 2 decades, and of course, where it will be called WWE King and Queen of the Ring. It will take place live from Saudi Arabia in May. We wonder when the next Saudi show would be. But another announcement as well is the fact that Backlash will take place in Puerto Rico this year for the first time. So pay-per-view's been there since January 2005, where it was New Year's Revolution. It will be hosted by Bad Bunny. So again, and then we know the next show after that presumably will be Money in the Bank, which I think is the 1st of July. In the SummerSlam. So it means that these premium live events will actually have a meaning and a hot crowd to them, especially in Puerto Rico.
Oh, no, it's gonna be insane. And then like Bad Bunny hosting, I can only imagine what they'll get him to do, who he'll be involved with. It really doesn't matter because the people are gonna go insane either way because he's huge. Like he's huge around the world, honestly. But yeah, it's a completely different vibe if you get him in Puerto Rico. And I can already just see, I can already just see again, King and Queen of the Ring. Awesome idea, by the way. To do it, also another thing. I don't know if you noticed, but to do it in Saudi Arabia, just like the last time they went to Saudi Arabia, he's immediately, since taking over, kind of started to make these Saudi Arabia shows feel like something you have to see. Instead of it being like what it was. Because honestly, if they didn't start adding meaning to those shows, I think we all was gonna just ride out the rest of this Saudi contract barely watching or caring about it because for a stage there it just felt like a house show in Saudi Arabia pretty much. So to have King of the Ring, now to have some stakes, even if it is still kinda is a house show in another country, it'll still, like you said, have something for us to pull from the show and actually have meaning to it. And then again, doing it. I was so amazed that they decided to do the show in Puerto Rico. I'm very excited. Like I said, it's been a long time. Hell, I didn't even know they did New Year's Revolution there at the time. So it's just really, really cool to think about, all the creative things that not only Triple H is doing, but like you said, just the whole entire feel of each event. You can just already imagine how huge a lot of these shows will be. And this is a very worldwide schedule too. You see, obviously, with Money in the Bank included. So I love everything about it too. Like the announcements really have you excited, and if we continue to get the another thing too, the structure of these shows, we know that they may not be too long, but they're going to be paced rather well. They're going to have 5 to 6 really strong matches that make sense for the card. So everything about premium live events. I mean, why do you think it seems like every live event we review for the main roster, they seem to be breaking records every single time. So they're on a roll, and I just hope that that continues on throughout this year.
Yeah, I think without a shadow of a doubt, like I said, really been enjoyable so far. So we've already had Rumble, like I said, and also Montreal as well. And we're heading to WrestleMania. We move on and we talk about Honor Club because Tony Khan revealed that Honor Club for Ring of Honor has 12,000 subscribers, which he said was good.
Sweet.
So, again, this is an argument. I mean, I don't want to say we're bigger than Ring of Honor, but apparently we can now because we've had more listeners and more subscribers and followers. So that's good, I suppose. But if Tony's happy, I guess some people are happy then.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a section of fans out there that are already excited and tuning in every Thursday for those Ring of Honor events. I'm not on the Honor Club. I used to be, have not resubscribed or whatever for this. I figured that any important things that I need to seek out, it'll find its way to me, and so far, it already has. But again, I do think again the Ring of Honor brand having its own spotlight is gonna do AEW a positive. Now, can Tony or whoever is controlling, like, can he delegate and let Ring of Honor be its own thing, or is it just gonna turn into AEW Dark with Ring of Honor plastered everywhere? Like it's still you have to figure that out. But with the involvement of New Japan talent, like we already talked about Zack Sabre Jr. Defending his belt there, and all the many different talent that's been in Ring of Honor in and out of that roster. I think it has a chance to be something, but it's gonna take time. So we just have to give it a chance and figure out. Ring of Honor has diehard fans that are gonna stick by it no matter what. So we'll just have to see how everything plays out. But again, that's not the number that I don't think as much. Even though he says that's good, that's definitely not the number that Tony wants. You know that, right? Like I think we all know. But again, it's a good first step when you're reviving a brand that was basically this time last year was gone, or a couple years ago it was they were shutting their doors. So
What did you think? NXT UK and Strong, two programs that obviously I used to watch that have been cancelled, for a better word, had better ratings than that, or do you think it's weird to think, isn't it? Because if they surely had more than that.
That's what you would, right? I would assume, especially like NXT UK, especially with the UK audience, would it be in time? Like I don't know about the American audience because of the fact that the shows were like 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon. So but I'm assuming, right, it had to be way more than that. Even Impact at its worst, right, is doing a little bit better than those numbers. You would assume, but who knows? Who knows, man? Who knows?
Well, you mentioned Impact, and I will say that this is from a couple of weeks ago. Impact had 92,000 viewers.
See? Yeah.
TV. So 92,000. But even MLW's Underground, which was on Reels, had 73,000. So again, I haven't got NWA. Obviously, we know with the WWE shows a little bit more. But they're all fighting for the same audience.
Exactly. Like who has the free time in between the non-television? Because like you're right. If you're on NWA and you're on YouTube, you're fighting with the same subscription audience for all of these other, multiple GCW, all these other brands. So like you mentioned, it's gonna be rough. And like I feel like the 12,000 are a lot of those diehard. And I think another problem they have is because of how much Ring of Honor was still plastered all over AEW television, people do not know exactly what to expect from this new version of Ring of Honor. Like, is it really Ring of Honor? it's something that some people are definitely going to wonder before they invest in.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. But like I said, we're going to focus on NXT right now with 5 episodes. We're going to get straight into it. February 7th, Carmella Hayes and Trick Williams basked in the glory of the win over Apollo Crews as Hayes turned to the future and Bron Baker, JD McDonough came out to challenge him, setting up a match for later. Zoe Stark beat Sarah Ruka. Afterwards, Stark tried to take some more cheap shots, but walked right into the Soul Snatcher. Karen James and Fallon Henry argued backstage until they ran into a surprise party celebrating their championship win. Pretty Deadly got into an argument with Chase U during the party, though. Grayson Waller was shown complaining to Shawn Michaels leading to suspension. Tyler Bate challenged Waller to a match next week when the suspension is lifted. Dabba-Kato run through Dante Chen. Isla Dawn beat Tate Paxley, where we saw Katana Chance and Kaden Carter interrupted Roxanne Perez during an interview to talk to the champion about a lack of friends. Later, Perez announced she would face off against Chance and Carter were a partner. Miko Satomura next week. Carmelo versus JD. They traded big shots in the match, but it was a surprise return of Ilya Dragunov that made the difference. The distraction allowed Melo to steal a pinfall win. Laya Valkyrie ran over Valentina Feroz with ease. Lopez gave Feroz brass knuckle shoes, but she hesitated and allowed Valkyrie to pick up the win with a roundhouse kick. Stacks beat Odyssey Jones. Pretty Deadly, Yes Boy versus Chase U. Pretty Deadly came out depressed and dishevelled, barely able to pull out their signature. No boy. However, they found the confidence. Nixley worked in sync. Three hand run with panic traps and LG. Afterwards, Gallus to the stage to stare down Pretty Deadly. Poor Pretty Deadly, eh?
Bro, a depressed Pretty Deadly is sad, but a hilarious sight to see. I just love how at the beginning, before they kind of had the light bulb moments where they were going to finally get their confidence back. I just love at the beginning they were just like, "What? I don't know which one, but he did. They were trying to work at the beginning. He was just like, what's the point? What's the point? Just he crossed his arms and just sat on the back like he wasn't gonna do anything. He was just like, this is priceless. But yeah, I mean, it still ended up being an entertaining match. Like, I think we know Pretty Deadly's formula really works, and with a tease for Gallus versus Pretty Deadly, I think we're both down for that. So yeah, this all worked pretty well, even if I definitely got a chuckle out of seeing a depressed, disheveled Pretty Deadly.
Then we had Dig Dong Hello featuring JCJ and Gigi Dolan. Bailey put over Gigi and JC as two of her favourites. She worked hard to sell Toxic Attraction, staying together. However, the role model could not pull it off as Jane superkicked Dolan and sent her into the set door. I mean, it's not really the barber shop, but again, this is the end of Toxic Attraction, Monty.
Yeah, man, what a run. It is the end. It kind of made me wonder, with the execution of it. I was like, who would have, well, I mean, I assume Mandy would have turned on one of them first, or, however, would have swayed maybe JC, I guess, is the way I'm looking at it. Like, what this would have played out kind of like if Mandy was still around. It definitely kind of made me think about that. But at the same time, to focus on these two, the execution of this, obviously, we all saw the influences. We know exactly what this was. And like you said, I will say this: the stomp on the door may not have been a barbershop window, but that stomp, it was, man, how brutal. I saw that one spot, by the way, just the stomp on her face. Like, that was replayed probably for weeks, but I definitely know throughout that week after the show, I just kept seeing poor Gigi just getting kicked. It's like on a loop. And then I saw the photo after that of her face at the time and how it looked. And it was really, 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 it definitely had the effect I think they were going for. And like you said, this is the end. It was official at this moment. And like I said, what a run they had, especially as a tag team. Like, I know the tag division wasn't really ever filled out. I mean, it's better than what it's being on these batch of episodes, but they really carried this division, especially that division with the tag titles, and then we know what Mandy did. So it was a special time. But 2.0 is over. Mandy's gone now. It was definitely time to put that nail in Toxic Attraction's coffin.
Yeah, they will be missed. February 14th, Grayson Waller walked into this match arrogant, even cocky, and it cost him against Tyler Bate. They're quite an impressive back and forth contest. Bate reversed the pin into one of his own for a 3 count. Waller got into Shawn Michaels' face afterwards at the gritter position until Shawn Michaels told production to go to commercial. Imagine having that power, Monty, to just be like, advert.
Right. Cut the commercial.
That's the truth. Anytime you're having an argument, you just think, nope,
Yeah.
Nope,
we're done. Yep. Pause. No, just play. Also, I want to say, by the way, when they do these matches, when there's a guy I have not seen fight, a guy already holding high value, I gotta go ahead and just give him props. Waller fit in, in this match. So I thought this was obviously it would be good with Bate involved, but yeah, man, shout out to Waller.
Yeah, fair play to him. JC Jane said Toxic Attraction is done, and she's now the only staff. She showed the footage of her attack and reveled in Gigi Jola's pain. She said her former friend doesn't mean anything to her, and she instead focus on her own success going forward. Schism made sure Thea Hale could not get on a game in a match versus Tiffany Stratton. That made her easy pickings for TS, who put away with Rolling Farmhouse Carry Slam into a moonsault. Javier Barnell asked Paxton Arvinal to be his Harvey time. Instead, he got choked out by Niall. I had a thought of both from a nearby speaker. Axton beat Damon Kemp in another quick but good match. Ron Baker wanted to talk about the future of the NXT title, but Jinder Mahal and Indusher interrupted. The modern day Maharaja challenged him to put the title on the line, and Plant seeded out about the crowd's love for him. Speaking of love, Chan Stacks Lorenzo and Tony D's romance continues, but Dijak interrupted them. Von Wagner attacked and actually got a shot at Wesley for the NXT North American Championship. And Lee put him down with his own cardiac kick. And Robert Stone wants more. Again, not bad, but then Henley finally broke down after when Jensen told him about James. This is again a lot of stuff I'm going to skim over. This she found that
soap opera.
Oh my god, it's just, and I don't like them. At least be likable. That's what I say. They found out that Zach was the brother, but Jensen did not get the kiss. But who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah. Our boy Hank Walker with new singlet and boots came up short to Charlie Dempsey, tapping out. While the match maybe wasn't that interesting, what was Dempsey leaving with Drew Gulak after.
Yeah.
So are we finally seeing that? What we've talked about for a little while.
Right. It took him a while to get there. I don't know why it took so long for him to throw Hank aside. I think it was obvious. There's one thing we learned from this little story is that Gulak and Dempsey are, two cut from the same cloth. That's pretty much the only thing he reinforced, through this entire time. So I think we all knew the Hank relationship was temporary. But at least he stayed long enough to get some gear out the deal.
To be fair, that's probably what he's waiting for. And the main event, Katana Chance, Kaden Carter versus Roxanne Perez and Mika Satomura. Final boss hit a Pele kick, set up the progeny for Pop Rocks to win. And afterwards, Satomura challenged Perez for the NXT Women's Championship. And of course, the progeny gladly accepted, considering it an honor. It is great to see Miko back. And like I said, it's exciting to see the youngest versus at Roadblock.
100%. I probably definitely, as a matter of fact, I definitely lost points in the Royal Rumble because I was hoping to see Mako a lot sooner. So I'm glad whatever visa, whatever travel issues that were going on, I'm glad that's over with. I mean, we saw Dragunov come back, so it makes sense. So happy that we could get Mako back too. And you're 100% right to see not only to see the youngest versus the oldest, but to also see or to get ready to see what would change from their first encounter, because I remember enjoying that match a lot and seeing what would be different now that Roxy is champion. So, yeah, you're 100% right. This was definitely a big thumbs up for me.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. We move on February 21st. And I can't remember an opponent or someone facing off against Ilya Dragunov that was as happy as Trick Williams before the match. It's like Trick didn't know what it was all about. He was brought back down to earth, but looked great in defeat, though. And I think Trick is
By far his
improving.
best performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked great. Like, I don't know if I know we like Dragunov matches, but this is one time where I don't think where I can't say that. He definitely got carried because he's Dragunov. But what I'm trying to say is that he didn't just rely on Dragunov. He, like you said, you can see that he's been working hard and he's definitely improved, man. It was definitely a good opener. Like, as much like think about where Trick was a couple like months, 6-8 months ago when we watched him try to wrestle, alone or whatever, and how he looked here against Dragunov, night and day.
Yeah. Well, that and with Ilya as well, booked properly, would be forced to be reckoned with. Of course, JD with Donna John commentary to watch as well. And Perez joined Miko Satomura's training class. Was anyone left standing after the warm up? Perez held on, and Satomura told her the heart was more important than strength. And again, I hope it's one of these things where when they were doing it, go, right, Perez, right now, 95, 96, 97, rather than starting from one and having to do it all. But again, I thought it was very well put together, and it shows that, of course, Rocks has got the heart.
All I know is there was no way I'm making it past the warm up. Mako was tripping, especially with some of those numbers. Not the 1,000 squats, because I mean that's bad, but like I've heard wrestlers talk about that. But I don't know. It's funny. It was people bowing out at like 40 push-ups. So yeah, I don't want anything to do with that, Mako.
As I said, it made it up as like 1,000,002. 1,000,000. No, it's too many. It's too many days. Go put it back. Unbelievable. And if it didn't feel like an episode of NXT UK, Tyler Bate was out next. He told the NXT Universe he was ready to begin the next stage of his journey. But Joe Gacy interrupted. The Schism surrounded the ring, but Chase U made the save. How ran the Schism then beat Chase U. Then we see Jason Jane versus Indy Hartwell. Jane took over the contest, landed a kick on Indy Wrestling. Gigi Jonas struck. He attacked the former friend and sent her running. We see Drew Gulak put over Charlie Dempsey. He's the right kind of performer to succeed in WWE, unlike Hank. Gallus beat Sanofi and Manic Blade. Two mystery men arrived with anniversary cake for Gallus. It looked like the 2-year anniversary of losing to Pretty Deadly. Yes, boy. And then Pretty Deadly attacked and looked like killers, taking out Gallus from chairs and stairs. And this is what I love about Pretty Deadly. They have got a serious side.
I think this is a good showcase of like it's a perfect segment to talk about to both sides of them, because again, at first when I saw the two, cake delivery guys, I was just like, oh, okay, this is kind of. I mean, as much as I thought it was petty, but cool that they remembered it was a 2-year anniversary that they beat them. I did think that it was just like, okay, this is a joke. All right, so what's the punchline here? And it was fine. But then once you get the actual attack, and like you said, you see that mean streak, that's what makes Pretty Deadly so freaking like good. The fact that they can be in both lanes, hell, every lane, honestly, they can be taken seriously as champions. They can be on the chase. They can be, jokes, however you want to look at it. They seem to be a very well-rounded tandem when it comes to how they're portrayed, and I think this segment is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, well, you think about since like losing the titles to a New Day,
Yeah,
and we've seen them hit rock bottom. We've seen
right.
them in every single, like
Jump through
cowering
hoops.
and
Yeah,
trying to help out. Speaking of explaining, Dabo Kato explained why he attacked Apollo Crews, blaming him for getting left behind when Crews headed to NXT. Yeah, you left me
makes
on the
sense.
main roster. Yeah, damn you.
Yeah, I needed this extra train.
I want to go back to developmental.
Right, that's where I belong, and you left me up there alone.
Have you seen me wrestle? You knew.
Right.
No, but again, like I said, it made enough sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Stevie Turner talked about the character background of Live Valkyrie. Again, good to do. Von W lost to Tony D.
What are they
Uh,
gonna do with her streaming? By the way, you think is this ever gonna go anywhere, or is it just gonna be irrelevant to her wrestling? Like what? I don't know. Whatever. Keep going.
Stevie's going to be one of those who goes to the main roster and out of all the ones they pick and will go, how the fuck has she gone from NXT UK to NXT to like SmackDown and we still don't get it?
Right. We still don't get her at all. She's women 2 times SmackDown Women's Champion. I still don't understand her at all.
Don't happen. But Tony D challenged Dijak to a jailhouse street fight at Roadblock. Alba Fire beat Ivy Nile. Ivy Nile, man. What has she done to piss off management? I just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wesley announced another open challenge next week. And the main event, Bron Breakker retains in the main event versus Jinder Mahal. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Again, Bron Breakker beating another guy and a former WWE champion still. But I don't know. I'm just a bit over it.
Yeah, I did like the storytelling of them kind of like explaining Braun slipped at this point last year. So this was like a test of how far he's come as champion now. So I did enjoy that, but yeah, I was in the same boat as you. It didn't matter how much those fans in Florida or whatever, those few fans who hate Braun enough to cheer for Jinder. It didn't matter how much of that was going on that was going to convince me that Jinder was going to win in this situation. And I wasn't really worried about Braun losing at all, so that kind of takes away from it too. But it was still a showcase of Braun's pride against a former champion. So I understand it wasn't bad to me, but it just also wasn't anything of note for me to to invest in, other than the fact that, again, the internet was giving Braun a hard time from that segment you talked about earlier, where the fans in NXT seem to be not receiving him well. And I'm just gonna be honest with you. Let's break it down. The run at the longer a run like his can go, and he just keeps overcoming everything, it can get a little bit stale. And it's certain things about him. I don't think Braun is that generic. I actually like Braun's work, but he's obviously still has a long way to go to be where I think where he's probably headed, But he does the spears, a finisher, like everything about it is just like, oh, this is the generic strong man, baby. He has wrestling in his blood. Like everything about it is just generic what WWE wants. So you kind of want to see, do Braun have another gear that makes him unique and makes him different? So I can understand that, but I don't think he's a bad world champion, and I don't think this was a bad match.
And we'll move on to our penultimate episode, February 28th, NXT North American Championship, Wesley versus. Well, a brawl broke out to start the show in the back with so many hope to get a title shot. Dabba-Kato almost made it until Polar Cruz cut him off, allowing Nathan Frazier to jump in. This was Frazier's first televised match since October. He got welcome back chant. But I think we mentioned it as well, like in a private chat between us. Like, how old is Nathan Frazier now? Like, how long was he away?
Right. They explained it was just since October, but I was like, no, it's been like 3 years away.
Oliver Queen on the island somewhere.
Right. Like, yes, he was just lost. You remember it was a TV show that used to come on just called Lost, and that's what he started to look like, some of those people. But yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, the beard, the new look, the new gear, everything about it was so fresh. He just seemed like a brand new person almost when you finally see him. But it was definitely still great to see him because he's one of those. It's just like we mentioned earlier with Saray. It's so much cool young talent that even if it wasn't from NXT UK or even if they're from the 2.0, whatever era of NXT, there's so many of them that's been in and out, kind of like a revolving door, that you just, like you said, you almost forget that it's been however many months since Nathan Frazier was on TV. So it's still great to see him.
Yeah, and as I said, the match itself was great. Wesley with his open challenges have been really put.
He's knocking them out of the park, man. Yeah,
and again,
it was special. Like I
Well,
knew it would be because they have the potential. Like they're just so great. They're great athletes. But I honestly wanted them to go another 15 minutes, like or something. Like I could watch that even longer. And I also want to add this tidbit. It has nothing to do with the match. I felt like everyone who was too busy fighting someone instead of running to the ring, all of you are idiots. That's all I gotta say. That's it.
That's an excellent point. Or take a different entrance.
Right. Like it's
maybe
the
that.
other way. Use come through the crowd, like whatever. Like it's so many better options than fighting through a log jam of other dudes.
JD Madonna warns Ilya Dragunov that he would pay for injuring him. An eye for an eye, if you will. Indusher beat Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. Brothers, they said Indusher would finish this feud at Roadblock with the Creed brothers. Julius Damon Kemp for help. I mean, how bad is it that he has to ask Damon Kemp after everything that happened? They got short memories, don't they, man? Like,
Right. I could not believe they couldn't find some generic babyface who wasn't busy. Anybody else to ask would have made more. But that shows you, it's like, it made me wonder. It's like, Dynamite really must not be that light backstage. If that's the case, damn, nobody wanted to team up with him, so they had to go back to him. And they had the nerve to think that he would say yes.
well, let's not forget that the Undisputed Era got their own hospital. So they could have gone to see Roderick Strong, who's probably still in the hospital bed, I assume, with Carl O'Reilly next door.
Such a great shout.
And again, Bobby Fish just watching it on TV and going, "What about me? No one thinks about me.
I'm available."
But then, just by happenstance, Bron Breakker was there. It's like, "Yeah, man, straight away, I fight," and they all go like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, ooh," and you go, "Fucking Americans." That's the problem.
That is the problem. Just happy-go-lucky right into a fight. No problem.
Fucking the mental.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway, the NXT car park claimed another victim in Windy Chew. When will people fucking learn, eh? Do not go to that car park. What is wrong?
Yeah, leave the lot. Like I don't know how you're gonna get to work, but I don't know what you need to do, but yeah, avoid the line at all costs at this point. Especially if you're a woman right now. They seem to have a thing. They have a type right now. So
yeah, I don't want to give spoilers, but later on, when I saw the ambulance in the car park, I expected it to blow up because that's
exactly.
That's the way it's been. Gigi Dolan vowed to put the final nail in the coffin of Toxic Attraction after comparing JC James Patel to abuse she faced at the hands of her motger. Yeah, that's gonna look. Next week.
Right. Very passionate though. Very passionate.
Yes. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Very, very nice. It's passion. Not what you're saying, obviously.
not the abuse.
Let's not abuse.
Please move on.
We hope Gigi can have a strong singles run and maybe some counts. Duke Hudson.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Duke Hudson apologized to Thea Hale for the latest class. The schism interrupted, and that was scared the shit out of me on that video. Man, he's like, "Hey, Jason," and I'm just like, "Fuck me."
Like at my tripping balls right now. What is going on?
Exactly. So, is this live feed? Anyway, we see Shawn Michaels agreed to meet Grayson Waller next week on a Grayson Waller effect. Waller later asked if he would speak to the Stooge or the competitor. Miko Satomura beat Zoe Stark in a good match. Zoe gets better every week, and if what we heard there as well, she's taking part in house shows. It shows she's got a bright future. And again, Monty, it's developmental, but she is getting better every week.
Oh yeah, and I think in the ring, she's one of the best, if not, the best that the women's division in NXT has to offer, man. And the only thing she would even remotely have to work on, like you said, even in that regard, I think she's improved leaps and bounds, would be like character and promos. But I think, like I said, she's improved in that retrospect also. So it was great to see her take a shot at the final boss, being there with one of the best. Like you said, she's already possibly already could be on that call up, getting that call up soon. She appeared in the Royal Rumble, lasted longer than anyone any of the other NXT people that I remember being in it. So, yeah, man, this was really good. Like you said, good stuff, and I agree. This is the same thing I mentioned with Waller earlier. I thought Stark fit right in this one too. So, yeah, she's definitely got big things on the horizon, and I think she can be a champion. Now, even if whether it's in NXT or, like you said, on the main roster, I think she definitely can be a singles champion.
When you're keeping pace, like you said, with someone like Miko, you know that you kind of got it as well. Perez joined commentary ahead of that match and faced off Elect Challenger afterwards. So Ruka beat Elektra Lopez. And again, this is another thing about NXT. So Ruka now just gaining experience through the matches, where it will be the same match with Elektra Lopez. She keeps having. But didn't matter because Lopez pushed Perez until she decked her with the brass. So a little bit of development there. Can you understand any of what Mark Coffey and Wolfgang are saying? Because I speak Scottish. Luckily, my dad is Scottish, so I can understand it. But some of the words they're using, and
some of it,
something, he's like, "Hey, see you, pal. I'm fucking chilling on your push. I'm fucking chilling on that. See you, fucking. I'm a cowboy." That's literally. We're gonna get a face off.
No comment.
No, I can say it. I'm allowed.
Yeah, you can say it. No comment for me. But it's true.
Okay.
But it's true.
Yeah. Tiffany Stratton versus Katana Chance. So we thought Katana Chance, Kaden Carter were going to go heel, but no, they're pivoting back to bland faces, I suppose. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn made a surprise appearance. It distracted Chance. Stratton took advantage of her fireman's carry into a moonsault win. Got to think of a better name for that. And the standard laid out a challenge afterwards. The NXT Women's Champion. So we know we've got Stand and Deliver coming up. We know we've got Nico versus Roxanne. Tiffany Stratton, is she the right woman maybe to go to Stand and Deliver face the Women's Champion?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I've told you, I definitely think she was next up. As far as like her development, I can see the potential to be a star. And honestly, she can definitely be that great foil to, the kind of way that we have a Melo and Braun thing. You can definitely see her with her youth and her athleticism being kind of like the answer to what Roxanne has going on in the women's division. So long term, I definitely can see this working out. I don't know. I didn't know if it was the timing was right at right now, but I'm not opposed to it because I think right now she seems to be the strongest singles women's wrestler that's been on television besides maybe a Sol Ruka. And I think we both know Sol Ruka's not quite ready for that spot yet. So yeah, I think Tiffany Stratton makes sense here.
Yeah, and then we get Axiom versus Hank Walker. Axiom was working at a higher level than his competitor, put away with a golden ratio. Superhero showed respect to our boy Walker afterwards. Because again, this is how Axiom. I don't know how he can show emotion when he's wearing a mask. And he even did it in the backstage segment, setting this up, and even like the chops and stuff. And the fans are connecting with him. How is it working? How much fatality is they did?
It's just I agree 100%. I think that's the focus right there. It really puts on display just how good he really is. And like, we talked about it. Even some of those points, I think even in NXT UK, we can admit not his strong suit was maybe some of the character elements or was the promo. But like you mentioned, under this Axiom, I don't know if the confidence of the mask has improved him when it comes to his believability in the lines that he's given or anything like that. But like you said, he's been amazing. And you're right, the crowd actually care about this character, even if the name was kind of clunky at first, or the origin of what this is all about with him, with the numbers was kind of, muffled. He, as a talent, has been so talented and so great at what he's been doing that, like you said, he's pretty much This is the perfect example of what WWE wants us all to believe when they give someone a horrible name or something. Like it's not about the gimmick, it's about the talent. You know, that's the stuff they love to try to preach. This is a perfect example of them being right, I guess. But just look how good the talent has to be for it to work out.
Scripps is looking on and going, "You motherfucker! How
Exactly. Like, how the hell are you doing this?"
But also, did you know? And again, I don't know if it was what I was smoking or not, but I swear to God, after this match, there was a masked man in the background. Did you notice the masked man in the background?
See,
Was there?
I was so confused. I didn't know if that was an extra. Was I supposed to see that? Like, was that just like because he disappeared when the shot went back there? So I was like, was I supposed to see that? Was that just like a what was that? So yeah, I did notice it.
Whew, that was lucky.
We're not tripping. We're not tripping.
And then the main event, Kamala Hayes versus Tyler Bate, and Hayes took the best move from himself to take down Bate, but it was a timely distraction from Trick Williams that saved him. Yes, Bate pulled a McIntyre. Yeah, Big Strong Boy missed a corkscrew senton, and Hayes responded with Codebreaker and a diving axe kick because Mello don't miss. Hayes looked to the camera after, made it clear he was the only man left standing to challenge Breaker at Stand and Deliver. And Monty, you're right, Mello is the guy in NXT. It's great to see these two clash. Well, they are two of the best doing it. And what's even better, I feel, is the fact that we followed these since they've started. You know, we talk about Hayes tournament, we talk about Bate in the UK tournament back in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a shame that Tyler Bates' theme is dog shit.
I wish they just kept the original Mustache Mountain song. Like, he deserved to keep it, you know, especially if they were going to part ways with Trent anyway. But we can go on forever about the NXT UK and changing songs and, you know, whatever in general. But yeah, man, this was just all about sitting back and enjoying for me, man. And by the way, like you mentioned all that, we've been here from day one for both guys, but they're still two of the youngest and brightest stars in the game. Like, Melo's 1 year older than me at 28, and you have, you know, Bate, who's still younger than me at 26.
My
even
God,
though he's been doing this forever, right? He's been doing this forever, but he's 26. So, like, we could be seeing. I think that's what kind of had me so excited about the result. Like, even though this wasn't for a championship, I think we can definitely see this in the future. If it's not for the NXT championship or other championships down the line, you can still see stuff like this for the next 5 to 10 years with the potential that these guys have. So, yeah, man, this was incredible action, and I think me and you both kind of figured what this would be, but just sitting back and enjoying and just watching this slugfest, even with Trick's involvement, I thought this was really, really good. But I'm definitely down for them to do this again in the future.
Yeah, and another thing I liked as well is the fact that Kamala Hayes, since losing the North American title, has ticked off a list of people that Bron Breakker has defended the title against.
Right.
I've
noticed that too.
With JD, Tyler Bate, of course, even like Apollo Crews kind of being the one there. And like you said, there is nothing left now for those two men. And there's nothing left for us apart from the final episode, which of course is Roadblock. And Tiffany Stratton takes a seat backstage. She says she's ready. Welcome us to Tiffany's Epiphanies. You do not know how much I like that. That for me is money.
Right. I also love when she used it in her catchphrase. Like when she told Nikita, I have an epiphany. Why don't you disappear from NXT for a year? Like, poof, be gone. I'm just like, that was so good. That was so good. She's great. Like I said, I love what she's doing right now.
Well, she says she can't believe we're 25 days away from Stand and Deliver, but several superstars have roadblocks on their journey. She hypes up tonight's matches, confirms the NXT Women's title will be the main event. She goes on to say it's not about the journey, it's about the destination. And we start off with Tony D versus Dijak in a jailhouse street fight. The only way to win is to lock your opponent in a jail cell set up at ringside. This, like the whole story, has been about how much Channing Stacks Lorenzo loves Tony D'Angelo.
Yeah.
this match was just Stacks turned into a Looney Tunes character. Just I can't
He
say
was just getting tossed around, kicked, beat up. It was, yeah. That's a painful love he was fighting for there.
His eyes popping out when he's getting squashed by the cage, just flattened, gets up, he's just like completely thin. We see though, thanks to his commitment to Tony D using a crowbar to stun Dijak and lock him in a cell for the win. I mean, Dijak's on a losing streak, but some of the bumps he takes are incredible. There was one, the table off the top rope, and I think just like another over the top rope dive. You think that man is like, how tall is he? He do shit like that.
Yeah, man, he's insane. And I finally figured out Dijak's character. I think he's like the Terminator mixed with Big Boss Man. Anyway, specifically, he's gonna walk out with a nightstick. So he didn't even use. Did he even use the damn nightstick? Now that I think about it. All right. Anyway, that's besides the point.
On it. He landed on it once. All right.
Yeah, he landed on it, and then we never used it. He never just like, no, forget that. That thing hurt. I'm not messing with that.
Maybe he landed it incorrectly, and that's why we never saw it again.
Like, yeah, he was like, nah, we ain't using that thing.
Stacks took it for later. Yeah, Stacks was like, Tony.
Right, we can use this. But yeah, man. I thought Dijak brought the best out of Tony D though, and like you said, the Looney Tunes is a great analogy for what was going on with Stacks. But it was still fun. Like that's the one thing I thought of this. I thought this is a really fun, hardcore street fight, brawl type of match. Dijak's matches always seem to be awesome, really, and especially when you give them time and something that you can invest in. But it's a shame he's still a loser. Like I love Dijak, but he's a loser. He's an entertaining ass loser. That's what he is right now, a big entertaining loser. But this is still a good way to kick off the show, and like you said, at least with the storytelling of just how much like family first, whatever. I guess that's the story. So at least they stuck with it and told a pretty good story. But yeah, man, it's a shame, man. Dijak came out. I mean, I guess you do come down so you can put over younger talent, but I thought this was going to be something for him to get restarted. But it seems like he's helping out. Either way it goes, great to see him on our television, though.
Yeah, without doubt. And I think Dijak, when he got told he was going back to NXT, he's going, it's not going to be like last time when I kept losing all the big matches. No,
no, not at all. No way.
No, we would jump you out. No love story has been stronger than Tony D and Stacks in recent years.
Yeah,
Roxanne,
Kiana and what old boy tried, but they're failing miserably.
Yeah, fuck that noise. I said, this is Macho Man Miss Elizabeth WrestleMania 7. This is the moment in history I will remember. And more recent memory, stuff like that. Anyway, Roxanne interviewed. She knows this is the first title defense, but it's the biggest. She needs to walk into stand and deliver as champion. But if that's not pressure enough, she has to be a living legend tonight. It would be bigger than a title win. Precious, she's anxious, nervous, heart is beating out of her chest, but she's ready. Will leave everything in the ring, keep the title, and that's why Roxanne is one of the best in the world. She can make us feel sorry for her even before she gets in the ring.
Yeah, even as champion, like a lot of times I think what happens to certain baby faces, as the stronger their reign getting, we'll have to test it out the longer her reign goes. But the longer it goes, the longer it stretch out, any sympathy you have for them start to leave out. But she is so good in that underdog role or in that, battling from underneath type of situation that, like you said, it doesn't even matter that she's the champion and probably should be a little bit more confident. She really, like you said, invokes the emotion of, she makes you believe. And again, that's something that to be that young and already good at hooking people, yeah, man, she's a star.
Yeah, like I said, with NXT as well, sometimes, and we've been doing this a while, there's some stuff that is better than others. And the way to survive it is to grab onto the stuff that is good. And like I said, with Roxanne and other
Exactly.
things like this at the moment. Another good thing as well, Vic Joseph said the two biggest teams and best tag teams in NXT were Gallus and Pretty Deadly. Yes, boy, UK represented again. I'll just say that we took over quickly.
I think that just shows you what NXT 2.0's tag division.
Hey, no, just shows you how good NXT UK was.
Okay,
Come on,
yeah, look at it
2 years ago we
positively.
were doing that.
You look at it that way, I'm gonna shit on the young guy.
Well, we saw the two teams, the charismatic Brits, as they were, with some banter between the two teams, and then of course Pretty Deadly hit the ring, brawled briefly, and bowed to the floor. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm never complaining about seeing Pretty Deadly, but just give us like Wolfgang versus Kit or something like that. Give us a singles match, and you can still have a brawl afterwards or DQ finish, and it just advances it a little bit more, you know.
I agree. I agree 100%. You know, giving them that spot. Also, that this promo in particular definitely drew more attention to what you were talking about earlier to me with Gallus, because I forgot what phrase it was they were trying to say, but I rewinded it 3 times to figure out what Wolfgang said, and I still have no clue.
Egypt. English
Egypt. Oh, Egypt. Yeah, it was Egypt. I said, I had to rewind that a couple times. Egypt. I like it though. It's new. I felt a little bit more cultured after that, but I did. But like you said, to give them a talking segment, honestly, at this point, like it feels like, honestly, this segment just feels like, let's continue to stoke the fire, because obviously this is the only match that we're gonna make for the tag titles. At least that's what it feels like. And they're just egging us along until we get these 25 days over with, and then finally have the match. So I agree 100%. Like, you probably would have done better with just an actual match, you know, instead, because unfortunately, too, we love both of these teams, but that crowd down there did not give a damn about this promo like that. So I hate to hear that and see that, but yeah, I agree 100% with what you said.
It's the only chant in time where the what chant is actually used correctly when it comes to Wolfgang in the promo.
Right.
They're not being rude again.
Run that by
No,
me
what
again?
did he say? Yeah. Lyra Valkyrie cut a promo on Mika Satomura, potentially rekindling a rivalry, this time with the NXT Women's Championship at stake. Should she defeat Roxanne later? Ilya Dragunov says the eyes are the window to the soul, but JD has no soul. He says he discovers happiness by inflicting anguish. Enjoyment for him comes in form of snapping men's bones and breaking their spirits. Dragunov says JD will never break his will because the Tsar is Uni Sigma. Again, this is, for me, I love it because I've got the connection with both. I can't wait to see the match, but this makes sense because with everybody else, this is building up towards a match now and explaining things. Very, very simple. We should try that.
Right. Keep it simple. Like, sometimes it's just as simple as fighting someone, they hurt you, and now it's personal. Sometimes it just be that simple. You don't need love triangles.
No, we don't need that. We see Dragon Lee sitting at ringside. I bet he was disappointed it wasn't a takeover, wasn't he? Or did he?
Fair point.
We had to step down. The Creed brothers teamed with Bron Breakker to take on Indus, which Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Sanger. This wasn't too bad to begin with, and it's crazy how good the Creed brothers with Bron looked. All in their blue singlets. It's like a Vince McMahon wet dream, wasn't it? You know? But unfortunately, the action broke down. There was one point where Bron and I think Judas just fell off the apron for no reason. And of course, Veer and Sanger weren't there to help either. But Brutus took to the air and wiped out Veer for the win. But it is the future, isn't it? You know, but I still miss Sanger's old gimmick of the understanding giant. And we need to see that again.
Right. Yeah, man. Indus still, I don't know if I'll say green, but they definitely still have some clunkiness going on. But I did like some of the combinations in this match. Like you said, the Creeds and Breaker just had great moments. The dives, the explosiveness that all of them possessed. You're 100% right. Vince or whoever definitely was just having wet dreams about that visual with those guys, those athletes. But yeah, man, it was solid enough overall to me. And you're right. That was one of the most unique things that Sanga had going for him. And, to be basically going backwards in time. Because that's not, we've watched NXT long enough. We know this is not Indushire's first run at this. So, we've seen this before. At least the other stuff Sanga had going on was unique. So I understand what you're saying.
But again, wasn't bad considering everybody involved. And then the egotistical Grayson Waller did everything in his power to go to Shawn Michaels. I can't believe I've got that name wrong. In a match. Who's that man? Shawn Michaels. Never heard of him before. So ran down the brand. Shawn Michaels voted his career. And discussed about it. The thing I liked about it was like, he's running down Shawn, calling him old, broken down. And the one thing is like NXT's not as good. And Michael's like, hey, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't care. You can talk shit about me all you want. And other people, better people than you have, but don't talk about NXT. Don't talk about 2.0. Slap you. And it might look like Michaels were going to accept a Grayson Waller. Yeah, we didn't want Shawn Michaels and AJ Styles at WrestleMania. We wanted Grayson Waller. That's the thing. But Michaels said no. There is a man though who wants nothing more than beat Waller in Los Angeles, and he bleeds NXT. It was Johnny Gargano, and do you know what? I had tears in my eyes seeing Johnny Gargano back home. Because don't forget, Waller, the one who sent Johnny packing originally, and he was back. This for me though felt a bit long, but the payoff was worth it.
I agree. It definitely was a little too lengthy. I think honestly, my whole thing with the Waller HBK stuff, I was waiting for what the end game was because it took a lot to even halfway convince me that Shawn would come out of retirement for this. So although I did like a lot of the antics and a lot of the stuff that Waller said, again, the payoff, like you said, was definitely with the reveal of Gargano being, he is pretty much is the greatest NXT superstar of all time. The only other person I could even think of when he said bleed NXT was his partner. It was Ciampa, his ex-partner. So I was thinking, wait, Ciampa's gonna be coming back here like before he returns on the main roster? Like, no. But again, seeing Gargano was a great nod. It was and like you said, I watch a lot of these NXTs with you. I guess it's been one too many because I forgot about the fact that Waller was the reason that Gargano was gone. And you know what? Now that segment is even better to me because Gargano was so pissed. And I was like, man, Gargano really is mad at him for shitting on NXT. But now, with your context, I get it even more. So this is a thumbs up.
That's what I'm saying. When it pays off like that, it does make a bit of sense. You could argue, Johnny's not going to be in the WrestleMania card, but if he's not going to be, then a match that stands and deliver. And like you said, Johnny Gargano in NXT is how I look at him is how people look at Kenny Omega in New Japan. I think that would be a fair kind of thing because Gargano.
100%. 100%. I think so too. I think that's a great nod.
Well, we get Gigi Dolan versus JCG. What was billed as a grub match closely resembled a straightforward wrestling bout. You do not know how much this annoyed me with Dolan fought from underneath.
True.
Defeated Jane from out of nowhere. Jane attacked. Well, Vic Joseph then goes. Dolan hammered the final never into toxic attraction. Nope. Jane attacked Dolan afterwards.
No, she did.
He's stomping on her head, trapped her in a steel chair. Sometimes a no DQ match straight away,
Right. Like, she already kicked her head through the door. Like, do we really need a straightforward one-on-one match? Especially if it was going to be like this. Because it was physical. It was a brawl at times, but surprisingly short, like you mentioned. And like you said, definitely way more of a straightforward match than you would expect when especially with the stuff they were saying to each other and the history there. But the finish was sudden, too, even though I do like the finish move. But yeah, JC attacking GG confirms that they're gonna fight again, and the story continues. So I just have to wait to see how that turn out. But I agree with you. Like the way the heat that they already had, I would probably prefer if they just went balls to the wall straight to from the beginning. But who knows? Maybe this will stretch on and we'll actually get two women's matches on the stand of the live card. Who knows? Or it'll end before that. So we'll see.
Yeah, without a doubt. NXT champion Bron Breakker wasted little time calling out Carmelo Hayes. Two men acknowledge the fact their paths have intersected, and it's time for them to have one-on-one showdown at Stand and Deliver. It may be a subdued promo, and Hayes was very kind of, agreeing with Bron. It was kind of the most face we've maybe seen Melo. And even talk about the meeting they had with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, saying you two are going to be the guys 18 months ago. And it's true because you look at Bron Breakker, he's been in the NXT title picture since day one. And Hayes, again, North American champion as the A champ. And now it makes perfect sense. And this is a match that you've been speaking about for about, oh my God, 6 months, maybe even longer.
Yeah, and I think that's what I like the most about. Like you said, it wasn't subdued. It wasn't really as much like hatred or heat there. But what the story they did tell definitely got me more excited about this because, like you mentioned, we all see. You can all see it before we even got that little peek behind the curtain that it was a meeting about it. You can all these episodes we've reviewed. You can tell that the shows were seeming to be more and more about Carmelo Hayes and like Bron Breakker in the main event. And I love that they mentioned that they always kept an eye on each other and like the respectful way that this seemed to be going right now. It wasn't really what I was expecting. Another thing I noticed, no trick. Like it was just Melo, no trick. It was man to man. It was just like real. Like it really felt like this is gonna be like the clash for the next era, or who is the best of this era of NXT. And I just like it. It's simple storytelling, and I'm pretty sure that hopefully they add even more layers to make it even better over these next few weeks. But yeah, man, it was simple. It was to the point, and I actually enjoyed it, even though it wasn't like you said, one of those. It wasn't like Danielson and MJF a couple weeks back. I know that was a little bit way more personal, and sometimes you can prefer that style, but sometimes it's just as simple as we the two best guys here. Let's lock horns and see who's the best out of us two. So yeah, man, this actually did a great job of getting me ready to look forward to their encounter.
Well, this is the thing, and again, it's WrestleMania season. We all look at WrestleMania 17 as arguably the greatest WrestleMania of all time. It boiled down to The Rock and Austin. And Austin saying, I have to be champion to prove that I'm the best there is. You saying you are the best, and it's Bron will give everything. Bron has been the dominant force, but Melo don't miss. And if you can build it up in that way of saying, like I said, these are the two best, not of just the NXT 2.0 era, but maybe of this generation. And you think about what they're going to accomplish in the next, 5 or 10 years. And this matchup falls down to can they get it done? We all know the result we won. But again, it's going to be fun getting there. And do you feel Melo is going to have the crowd behind him more in the build up and to get the match as well? Because that's where it's going.
I was about to say that's definitely the direction he's going. Bron Breakker seems to be in that kind of John Cena gray area where it's like you definitely got some people still barking and supporting Bron, but it's also also a lot of people who or who don't, but they're also more so when you hear those Melo chants, it seems like it's everyone. So it's like even the fans know that it feels like it's his time. So yeah, who knows? Like I said, that's why I want to know. I want to see what type of twists and turns can this story take. But as they are right now, a few weeks from now, when the match happens, Bron Breakker will definitely will not be getting the bulk of the cheers, in my opinion, in LA. But I guess we'll have to see.
Well, that's what we're here for, Like I said, Standard Deliver coming up soon. But backstage, Thea Hale found her centre with a segment involving Tyler Bates. And I thought, don't you fucking make a love triangle. Leave Tyler out of this. He's not interested in Thea. He's all right. But, of course, she managed to prepare to conquer a great sphere in Schism. Unfortunately, doing so cost Andre Chase's match against the Factions leader Joe Gacy, but it was Duke Hudson who took out his professor and the star pupil before storming off. So Duke has had enough. I mean, Chase U's story has gone a lot longer than I think both you and I thought it was going to go, and that is down that is down to Duke Hudson in part.
I 100% agree. I definitely predicted Duke turning on them a long time ago. But it did not go. It didn't go that way, and they seem like you said. It's still because the story is still. Well, I wouldn't say. I don't know about their story with Schism, but the Chase U story of whether or not who Duke Hudson's character. Maybe we're starting to see the facade wear off. It took long enough, so I think that was always probably going to be the payoff. The thing that kind of changed things for me was like when Bodie Hayward got released. I think that kind of made it add extra legs onto the story because they needed someone to be a partner for Chase and Chase U. But again, I think we all know what Duke Hudson is kind of suited, or at least so far from based on what he's shown, who he is. So I think we still were looking forward to this moment. It's just taking a little longer for us to get here. I definitely didn't think this would be like a stand and deliver time type of feud, So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it even makes the card.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there. We get a new vignette from Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, who have a fire and what looks like a Ouija board, and of course other items that Alba's collected in Isla collected in a box. Fire says tonight the moon shines above them, so tonight they will perform a full moon ritual. I'm just glad they're getting along. It's nice to see a tag team actually getting along in NXT.
And that's what I think that's the overarching story right now. I think maybe they're the only one that's getting along because their witchcraft is tearing everyone else apart. That's what it feels like. But I'm definitely compelled myself. I'm compelled into so I can see what's going on because like they've been like I told you since I kind of saw that this could be the way that they're deciding to go with them teaming up. Who knows? Maybe they're going to add witches or they're just doing this to manipulate teams so they can become tag champions. Either way it goes, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and I mean, Wesley looks like the open challenge is going to happen again, and it looks like it's going to be Axiom. I mean, what a match that's going to be. The North American title as well has been the consistent highlight.
Most consistent, yeah.
Yeah, since its inception. Go back to Adam Cole, and that's why we keep having ladder matches every 6 months. You know what I mean? Like Keith Lee
right.
and all these great moments. Johnny Gargano's reign. Like it has been with Bello as well. The one thing that keeps us coming back.
Yeah, it's a really good version of what we always hear about the Intercontinental Championship. I know the Intercontinental Championship is returning to that glory kind of in a way with Gunther and all of that, but the history of that belt, we all know it was the workhorse. It was maybe the person who's next up. And if you look at where Melo is now, he's challenging for the NXT Championship, and all those other North American champions were either eventually or former NXT champions. So it kind of has that same workhorse, very important vibe to it. So, like you said, the North American Championship, and so far the way it's been presented has been a masterclass when it comes to booking.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And then the main event of Roadblock, NXT Women's Championship, Roxanne Perez versus Miko Satomura. We get early grappling, gave way to both champion and challenger on a fair share of control. Initially, Perez took the fight to her challenger. Satomura regained control and appeared to have a winning hand at one point, only for her opponent to drape her foot on the bottom rope and break up the pin. That was after Scorpio Rising. Satomura's kicks point during this match. And another thing I really liked was Rox trying to respond with strikes. And even at one point, I was going, no, Rox, if you start throwing, Satomura's going to catch you. And it's exactly what she did. It's like a
right.
for Miko. And it always makes you, kind of fucking pay. She attempted to step up kick, but the champ dodged and scored the roll up for the victory. Afterwards, Satomura showed Perez respect, presented with the championship. You can see how emotional Miko was as well. And then the real story, Perez collapsing with looked like shots to the head. Of course, Booker T from the announcement came up to sell concern as they carried her out to the arena into an ambush. The show went off the air. The old Shawn Michaels angle seemed to work
Definitely.
perfectly there. But I mean, what were your thoughts on the match and what happened afterwards? Because now this puts the Stand and Deliver into question. And we mentioned earlier Tiffany Stratton, and this could be a perfect way to maybe put, the top on Stratton, and Roxanne's not 100%, but maybe looking too far ahead. What were your thoughts on this match first and foremost?
Right. Not only possibly put like you said, put the strap on Stratton, but it's also could be the opposite of that, like a great way to make it seem like just a great way to stack the odds even more against the great underdog that is Roxanne. So I've kind of angled that part I've looked at it from a couple of different angles to try to see where we could be going here. But you're 100% right. It definitely puts Stand and Deliver into question. And let me complain for a second about how anticlimactic it is to just have championship introductions and then you go right to commercial break. like you hype me up, yeah, and then commercials. Like what the hell? Like I hate that, but it's fine. Uh, Besides not liking the timing of that, this was a really hard fought title match. It continued right where they left off, kind of from where they were fighting the last time they went one on one. Roxy's improvement as a champion was showcased, at least, especially in the toughness department. Because, like you said, Mako definitely was in her role of being the final boss because she was punishing Roxy at times, and the strikes to the head, and like I said, Roxy after a match like that, you can't help but being like, "Whoa!" Roxy's heart and toughness was definitely on display to survive the final boss in this situation, and Mako is in this role of just basically being a test for whoever she fights. Like I honestly feel like she can't do no wrong in that role. Like the respect, even when Carter and Chance was dealing with, it's like once Mako was involved, all of that heel edge left him. They immediately was humble, like, oh, we're sorry, we're sorry for what we said to you, Roxy, and so again. She's just so awesome, and I could go on forever about Mako. But what happened after the match, like I said, the shots to the head played into that ending, and even though she survived the final boss, it definitely was looking pretty, tough there at the end. This is still a strong main event, and even if it depending on where it goes, I can't wait to see what angle they try to take there. At the end of the day, it was still a very powerful way to end your show, with the silence and just the very, very, intense feel. It had some people I saw on social media completely convinced and, praying and hoping for her health, which is always, you always have to be, just to be safe, just in case it's not a, a work. But yeah, it definitely gave me Shawn Michaels vibes as soon as she kind of got up wobbly and the way, it gave me that vibe. But still, awesome stuff. And I like you said, it leaves you wanting more. It makes you want to come back to check out the next episode to see, is the women's champion okay?
Yeah, and like I said, it's an excellent point with the the kind of concern from the crowd. But again, it's one of these things where I'm not a huge fan of this because, like I said,
Right.
I've seen it go wrong in
You've
the
seen it go
past.
wrong for real.
So
Exactly. Exactly.
it's blurring the line. But again, with Perez and setting up the story and putting over Miko, even defeat, because it's like, yeah, Miko's that more of a loss. But do you see what she did to the
But
fucking
she,
champion?
right, like, look,
You
she left
know?
the champion unconscious, right, right, like, and she was emotional before she kind of had to cry about the ending. But it's just like I love the shots. Like I love her be crying because like,
Oh
oh,
man.
this is a very, very great match. I'm proud to have a great match with you. But then at the same time, the despair of like, oh my God, I probably seriously hurt her. Like that was well done when they kept focusing on how Mako was looking after the fact. But yeah, I 100% agree. Uh, I understand exactly where you're coming from about the taste level or about doing these kind of work shoot. Are they really hurt or not type of thing. So yeah, it's always a chance that these things can be realer than it is. So I understand not playing around with it.
Yeah. Well, we'll look back on NXT, and these 5 episodes have actually, there's some updates, maybe not a lot happens, but as we look towards Stand and Deliver, which is arguably NXT's biggest show of the year, we have got some matches set out for us now. So I'm going to get your thoughts about NXT the past 5 weeks, and we'll talk about Stand and Deliver as well, because even in this, We've had Grayson Waller versus Johnny Gargano. We know we're going to get. Of course, we spoke about Bron Breakker versus Carmelo Hayes. We know that Tiffany Stratton wants a title shot. It looks like it might be Roxanne Perez, but we still don't know. Dean Gallus, a pretty stonewall. Hopefully, Alba Fire, Nyla Dawn for the Women's Championship as well. So it has been quite a productive, and I think especially past two episodes, and especially the episode started off like talk about Wesley, Nathan Fraser, and then main event by Bate and Hayes. It's kind of like an NXT UK hybrid at the moment, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, who would have thought that when the sadness, the despair that you had when NXT UK died, that you could still be able to kind of get your kicks off, watching your NXT now. So, I remember us being so somber about that, and it was still a somber enough, it definitely deserved the somberness. But it is kind of cool to see, like you said, just how much of NXT now has been influenced by what NXT UK was. Hell, they're even, like you said, in the tag division, they're even continuing a feud from NXT UK right now. So, like you said, I basically wrote down a lot of the stuff you just said, a lot of those matchups as a reason why, from a storytelling standpoint and from a matchup standpoint, I think NXT is on the right track. I mean, like you said, Melo versus Breaker, I've been waiting for that forever. So, just let me see that. Stratton versus Perez, I'm interested in, because do you prefer Perez on the chase? Would you give Stratton this opportunity right now? Is she ready for it yet? Will the injury from Maiko come into play again? Or what could possibly happen? JC and GG could possibly be closed up by Stand and Deliver. We know that's a very personal feud. So if we do get two women's matches, that will probably, or if we do get 2 or 3 women's matches, that would be the only other match from a women's division I can think about making it that far. But I am hoping for, like, I wrote down the Wicked Witches versus the women's division, because it just seems like they're against the entire tag division at this point. So, and we all know what the actual champs seem to have everything but wrestling going on. So, I mean, come on. I think we all know that the Witches should probably be our new tag champ, but I'm excited to see where that goes. You have Pretty Deadly and Gallus, JD and Dragunov, that probably will be Stand and Deliver weekend or leading up into Stand and Deliver. So, Gargano and Waller that you mentioned, and even the stores like maybe, let's say, Dabba-Kato and Apollo, that I'm not interested in. They're still taking the next interesting step. Whatever Tony D has going on, all of those things are taking logical steps. Even the love triangle that I really don't care about, or is, like, again, decent storytelling. Even if you're not really invested in it, I understand where they're going. So I like this batch of episodes for the most part, like you mentioned. And I'm looking forward to how what is the card going to become, and also the outcome of that card, because it's a lot of big decisions that I think those predictions, man, it's going to be tough. As much as I would like for us to claim our crown, we're going to have to bring our A games, James, when it comes to predicting NXT, obviously. But, who knows, depending on the card we get, it could be a very tough prediction show.
Well, the thing is as well, and not to ruin any what prediction, there could be all new champions potentially.
Yes,
at Stand and Deliver. So
exactly.
All new. It's gonna head or heart, and it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens. So I'm gonna decide how we're going to approach it as well. I don't know if we're going to do an NXT update before. I don't know if we're going to do the stand. Yeah. So we're interested to see how we approach it. Well, whether we'll do, like we said, we'll see what happens as it comes along. But I think that's it for now. And, when we think about Stand and Deliver, we're in a lot better place with excitement than we were before this update. I think it's fair to say, Monty.
I agree 100%. I think after taking in everything that they've been doing, and, again, watching all the episodes, I couldn't be more excited for the potential of this card, because it seems like all the major players that we've come to expect of NXT will be involved in some way, shape, or form. So, again, and now we also have a couple weeks left to see what'll get added, because I didn't even mention the North American title. That seemed to be a very, very exciting thing. We may get another ladder match. So, yeah, this is going to be special. This is a special time of year right now. And, man, I can't wait to talk about all of it.
Yeah, But we will be here to talk about NXT. That is it for today, Len. Don't forget, across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast, I'm at the WNR JR. You can find the entire WNR team on the Twitter banner. Monty, where can people find and hear you?
All right, at Mind Monty Pod on Twitter, or you can type in Mind of Monty on your YouTube or on Google. Click all the links, click my website, go to YouTube, subscribe to the Mind of Monty channel. And yeah, man, my most recent episode of the podcast, we broke down the first round of the New Japan Cup. I'm caught up. I have to catch up with what happened this morning because they're doing a 3 days in a row type of deal, and those are always tough. Always tough. But I got us caught up through the entire first round. And next week I'm going to go into the next round all the way up until the 21st when we finish the New Japan Cup and decide who will be next fighting Okada. So check that episode out.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. I think we'll check in with the New Japan Cup next month at some time, and maybe look at Impact and New Japan show as well. But again, at this moment in time, with WrestleMania coming up, that is all our focus.
Right.
Go listen to Monty. Trust me.
I'm taking my notes. I'm saving them.
We're also on Facebook and Instagram across all good platforms. Send us an email to podcast at gmail.com, YouTube, podcast. We have all latest clips. Podcasts go at the same time on YouTube. They do SoundCloud on your phone. Also, Spotify and iTunes. You can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that's it. Our next episode is one of my favorites of the year, Mystery Mania. What WrestleMania would be picked or will be picked next week? We will find out. Of course, we've had so many different WrestleManias. I mean, Monty, not to put you on the spot, but when you think, if I'm thinking about WrestleMania, we mentioned WrestleMania 17 earlier, like what comes to your head is your kind of like WrestleMania moment when you think of one?
Oh man, there's so many. My WrestleMania moment was definitely
just one. Yeah, just like
Okay, so my WrestleMania moment that immediately comes to mind is one of my favorite childhood memories from one of the best, even though I know we can't really talk about that Mania as much because of how it ended. But WrestleMania 20, The Undertaker's return when he was buried alive by Kane, I'll never forget just getting cheap. I wasn't in Madison Square Garden. Unfortunately, I wasn't lucky enough to be there, but I did buy the pay-per-view back in the day. And man, when I tell you the chills, that initial entrance when he finally returned to be the dead man after many years of being a badass, that's the one memory that entrance when Kane was just looking terrified, kind of sticks out to me immediately.
Well, I said WrestleMania brings out the best in everybody as well, and so you can just hear the excitement. We'll find out what Mania is next week,
Sure.
And of course we'll have a new WrestleMania at the start of April as well to review WrestleMania 39. How old do I feel right now? That my first WrestleMania watching live was 15, and now we're on. How did that happen, eh?
Wow,
I was a wee boy. Brock and Austin main event. Nothing else on the card was worthwhile.
Right? Yeah. 15 is kind of only special for the main event. Speaking of that, WrestleMania 2000 was great, but people hated that main event because it was supposed to be Rock and Hunter. But yeah, it was great.
And also,
WrestleMania 2000 was my first.
WrestleMania 2000, weirdly enough, only one singles match, and that was Miss King versus Terry Reynolds.
Can you believe it?
I cannot believe. Yeah.
McMahon in each corner. Who cares?
Those were the days, weren't they? But like I said, WrestleMania coming up, of course, starting next week, and Stand and Deliver as well. But until then, I've been James Reynolds, was joined by the mind of Monty, NXT Update, and NXT. You see, we worry about it, and it just goes by in the end. We enjoyed it.
Every time. I give my John Cena salute to you, my guy.
Well, sir, until next week for Mystery Mania, I said thank you very much, and thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.